Well, hi there, YouTubers. Thanks for tuning to my YouTube channel. Jose Quiñones, the CNC Dude, reporting in and starting with this project finally. After the introduction last week, I had to take a little break and work on the shop. It is very possible you're noticing there's some stuff on the middle. Unfortunately, now I have even less space because I decided to buy a few other things. Nothing major, just some toolboxes like the ones that you're seeing here. You know, it's Black Friday's fault. They put this stuff at a fairly decent price, so I just couldn't say no. I had to shuffle stuff around, and I can still walk a little bit, but definitely it's gonna get crowded. It's already crowded. I mean, it was already crowded, but now I have to be a little bit more careful on how I put stuff on the way because it's gonna make it more annoying. But this means that now I have to exert extra pressure on finding a new home with a bigger space. Anyway, I'm ready to get started with R2D2 here, and the first thing we're going to do is work on its feet, which means that I'm going to have to completely disassemble him. So this is going to be the last time we're going to be seeing him as a full-fledged asteroid droid. From now on, it's most likely going to be a bunch of parts. So no need to speak a lot. Let's get started. And let's take a look at the feet. Alright, I am here with R2's. I'm not certain which one of the feet would this be, if it's right or left. I guess it doesn't matter because really, I mean, you can interchange them. Although there's a hole here here's where the motor comes out, and there are some other holes. Obviously, this would be a mirror image on the other part, so it would be here instead of here, because you want both wheels to be on the same side. You don't want one side with the wheel on the back and the other side with the wheel on the front. But that will become obvious when we study what I'm trying to do here. But yeah, that's basically the only difference. So you can basically make two of these identical and then carve your cavities as needed. The ankle is attaching here through basically it's an old thread. I'm gonna show this to you. I'm gonna take the ankle away because the ankle is basically another video. So we're not gonna talk about the ankle today. And this is an horrendous construction. I mean, this is literally how I did this many years ago. I am not proud of this, but for a little bit it worked. So let me show you what the heck is doing this noise. Basically an old thread. And what I did here was, as you can see, I think you can see there, it's basically a little notch that I did with a Dremel. So you can see this is pretty horrendous. It's basically a hacked screw. But like I said, it worked for a little bit, and but it's something that I wanna fix. Definitely, I wanna fix. So I'm gonna put the ankle away. So here it is. Here is R2D2's feet or foot, made out of fiberglass. Many different layers of fiberglass because, you know, the first time I built it, it broke apart. Some stuff broke, so I had to fix it. Many fixes. It's so depressing and ugly. Every time I look at this, I'm thinking, man, I should just redo this. This is like so ugly. And of course, it's lacking many details. Like, for example, I never installed the two metal ribbons that go in here, and that would be because this is not perfectly flat. I don't think you're gonna see it, but you can feel that this is actually not flat. It's pretty curved. So by the way, this stuff was made practically by hand. You know, by taking a big piece of wood, milling out some of it, and then just shaping it until you get the measurements that you want. So it is amazing that it looks like this, but it was a lot of shaping by hand, and so with some milling, but no CNC whatsoever. Okay, no CNC. So the ornaments that would be here, which are like some rectangular groups, I was never able to make anything like that. So yeah, definitely with CNC, I envision I could make these parts practically perfect. So I may do it at some point in time. Today, however, what I want to show you is the first part that I want to make, which is the motor mount. So let me show you the motor mount that I have today. Actually, you know what? I think this is the right foot because there is a D in here, which I placed with a marker. That means derecho. Derecho is the Spanish word for right. So there you go. You're learning a little bit of Spanish here. Derecho for right, izquierdo for left. So let me show you the contraption. Oh, actually, before I go to the motors, let me show you the whole thing. Here is the cover that would go like this, and this one actually matches fairly decently. And again, this is basically a conglomerate of parts, stuff that I did on the milling machine, and then I glued it together to a piece of wood, and then I made a mold. And this is basically the output, which is fiberglass. And let me show the horrendous work of fiberglass here. And then this is plastic, smooth on plastic. And I just made a big blob. You know, I just basically put some like Play-Doh clay around here, and then I filled it up with plastic. Horrendous job. I mean, this is so embarrassing. And then I just make grooves by hand with a file so that I can put this in here. And there's like a hole in here for a little metal piece of metal that would grab the part from the inside, so this wouldn't fall away. But look at how beautiful these parts are. And by the way, this part is bent. Not certain if you can see the bend, but maybe if I do this, you can see that it's a little bit bent. Look at that. And you know, it's so thin that you can take it into place, and most people are not going to notice that it's bent, but you can even hear it crumble of how bad state this is. So this has to be remade. Look, there's a crack in here. Let me show you the crack. This can be made so much better if we just work a little bit. But you know, this is what I had the capability for, and that's just what it is. I'm certain we can make this much better. So let me show you the assembly that I have for the motors. So this is my motor assembly. It is basically a scooter motor, one of those 24-volt scooters, and you can buy all of these parts online. You can buy the wheel, the belt, the motor, or you can go to the Craigslist. Like sometimes I find these scooters for $5 or $10, and when I do, I just pick them up because I mean, the wheel alone is like $25 on eBay, or maybe $20 if I'm lucky. But the motor, you know, the belt. So these would go like this. And you know, there we go. This is the wheel. So of course, this would be from the floor like this. And ideally, you would put a caster in here of some sort, something to eliminate the fact that this guy has no motion here. So those are some of the problems that people building R2D2 units find along the way. And you know, there are different solutions like the uni wheel, or I don't think it's called the uni wheel. It's like a ball wheel and omni wheel. I think is what it's called. And you know, some people use casters. So I have used casters successfully. or in some cases, sometimes I just use this wheel. Now let's talk about how horrendous, pitiful, embarrassing this piece of junk is. Look at this, is a piece of junk. I think the reason, by the way, this is made out of MDF, okay, so a 1/4 inch MDF, but most likely like 2/20 of an inch MDF. Great material to cut on a laser, but for something like this, it's just preposterous. There is no way anybody can justify making this on MDF over metal. Even if you make it work, I'm not saying it's impossible to make it work, but even if you make it work, R2D2 walks through a little puddle of water and you can kiss it goodbye. So definitely a very poor selection of materials. But the real problem with an assembly like this is that you need to apply tension to the wheel. So you have to pull the wheel back to apply tension on the belt, and that is, and then I have locking nuts in here, but this is just not a good way of obtaining the proper tension. So the only time that I employ this piece of junk, R2D2 wouldn't move. It would basically skid on the same place. So this is very depressing. Now the reason why I did this is I think I had just bought my Tormac. This must have been 2011 or 2012. I'm thinking it was 2012. But I was still too rookie on the CNC to attempt anything of this magnitude. Now I feel confident that I can do it. But let me show you the construction that I follow in here. I think there is some creativity involved in how I did it. I'm not saying I recommend you doing this, but maybe it can inspire you on how not to do it. And also it may work for something else, you know, maybe a robot that is not as heavy as this Astromech droid, which is probably 125 pounds with batteries and everything. This may work perfectly fine for a 10 or 20 pound robot. And this is super quick to make. If you have a laser at your local makerspace, you could easily make this in 30 minutes, maybe an hour if you want to take a break to talk to your buddies there. So let me show you the different parts that went into making this. So I basically having here the left foot disassembled, and those are basically 3 MDF parts that you're going to need. Actually, I didn't show you this with, I think this goes like this. Yeah, that's how this goes. And the reason was because in here I was gonna put the caster wheel. Not certain. Yeah. This is what gave stability, so these guys wouldn't come together. So that's how this goes. So you need 3 pieces of MDF, and basically here's where you attach the motor. So you're basically 3 points on the motor, and then I just easily cut some steel angle, cheapo steel angle you can get on Home Depot. Obviously a hole for the motor, and in order to keep them equally spaced, I did some dowels. Now this is horrendously depressing and embarrassing for a project of this nature, but definitely for something else may be okay. Notice that in some cases I have a little insert. This was a pain to put in there, and as you can see, in some cases the wood would break, would chip, but you know, it works. And in some cases I just threaded the other side of the dowel. Now I did a jig to ensure that all of the dowels were of the exact same length, because that's the most important part, is that all of the dowels are of the same length, so that your 2 parts in here are basically equally spaced, and then just bolts to grab it together. Simple stuff, but unfortunately simple stuff doesn't necessarily work well. And as I was explaining before, in here, you know, basically I have to go with 2 wrenches, pull this as much as possible, apply tension, and hope that this guy would never retreat back into untensioned position. So definitely not a good way of doing this. My goal to do this properly is to do something very similar to this. I mean, don't take me wrong, there is nothing wrong with this shape. Actually, this is the shape I need. So this shape I can preserve, and in a way doing this on MDF on the laser it had a lot of value, because when you cut this on MDF, basically, man, maybe I wasted here what, $3 or $4? Man, not even that. I don't think, maybe $2. $2 in materials, you know, and I play with it. I tested that the concept was okay in terms of fitting my enclosure here. And you know, if there had been a problem, most likely this is not the first attempt, but even if this was the third or the fourth attempt, what are you out of? $8? Man, that's nothing. If you have to do the same with aluminum, you could easily be spending $30 or $40 in aluminum by the time you come to realize the final design. So as a proof of concept, doing stuff on MDF is not such a bad idea. But what I want to do is preserve this shape and apply some kind of mechanism to, with some kind of a screw, pull the shaft in here, so that the motor and the wheel can be as tense as possible. So I want these guys to be super tense, and because there's gonna be some piece of metal in here pulling on this, it's gonna remain like that. The problem with a venue of such sorts is that, put this through here, the problem is gonna be how much space do I have left. So as you can see on here, I don't have a lot of space, because unfortunately the curve, it's pretty close to this, and unfortunately also the wheel is right here. So that tells me that I cannot, I mean, basically the wheel is on the way, so I cannot do it on this side, and I really don't have a lot of space to do it here. So I'm gonna have to think of, visualize where I can put it or how I can make it so that I can apply the tension on this side, and then on this side it's piece of cake, because look at how much space I have. Man, I can put a gazillion things in here. So this space I'm not too concerned with. This space on the other hand might be a problem. And notice something, the reason why the wheel is here is because and I'm talking about the wheel on the vertical axis, okay, on basically going up like this. If I put it more towards the inside of the cavity here, this screw is gonna collide with the curve here. Now, of course, an option would be to make all of this hollow, and maybe that's why R2 has something in here. Let me show you the even more horrendous battery box. Please don't shoot me. This is pretty depressing. This was made out of plastic, as you can see. So this also has to be remade. So maybe I could somehow conceal it. Maybe somehow I can conceal it, and then I could make all of these hollow. So that's something to explore. And notice all of the holes that I have in here. These are basically holes that I have been putting there to hold the different mechanisms, to hold the different motor structures and motor mounts. Believe it or not, this is probably the second or third design, because I remember the first one had a motor with a sprocket. And actually this must be the second motor style. But the first one had a motor with a sprocket. I don't have that. I don't even know what I did with that. That was so long ago. But that's the one that actually went to the episode 3 opening on the movie theater. So different options that I'm gonna have to study and probably and probably I can utilize some of that information for this next build. But right now I think I'm gonna keep this height, and that means that I don't have a lot of space here unless I open this up a little bit more. We'll see. Also remember, this battery box is not infinite in length. I mean, it's only a portion of this, so I cannot just open this up until here, through here, because then people are gonna see it. But I believe that right where it is, I will be able to cover the screw, because the screw is, try to put this without, the screw is here. So in theory, I should be able to open up until here, through here, and it will be okay. So different things to explore. Let me talk a little bit about the battery box. Again, this was made out of plastic. Look what happens to this plastic after just some time. It just, I don't know why it bent like this. Fiberglass doesn't bend like that. And then this is a horrendous concoction. I mean, the actual lid that that went with this wasn't anything else ridiculously stupid like this. This actually cut on the laser, so this was after 2007, and it was just because the actual lids that I built in here they just pretty much disintegrated. But this is the kind of example of things that we can do so much better with CNC. Now this was cut on the laser, so in theory this was done with CNC, but I think I can make so much better now with an actual piece of aluminum. Like I said, the whole box is gonna have to be redone, and you can see some of the holes in here that I just used to, you know, quickly drill through and attach it to this guy. But this battery box is crap. And notice that in here we have basically none of the ornaments, and you know, this stuff is not even perfect. This stuff is you know, it's not flat. It's just hideous. So it truly has to be redone. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is not flat at all. I don't even remember how I did the first of this. I truly do not remember. But this was so long ago. So unfortunately, I cannot share how I did this. But don't worry, because we're gonna do this again, and then we can see how we can do this if you want to make your own. But it's gonna be with CNC, so it's gonna look way better.